Hello and welcome to Zenatta Consulting's Beginner Series. This is going to be our third video on Zoho Analytics. And in this video specifically, we're going to cover how to create some reports, both charts and some pivot tables using your data that's in Zoho Analytics. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the video. So over on the left-hand side here under the reports tab, when you go ahead and pull in your data sources, oftentimes if you check the box, analytics is going to go ahead and create you a whole bunch of various reports that you can work from. If you're getting started with Zoho Analytics, I would recommend you poke around with these and see if they match your process. These are kind of set up based on a pretty default usage of, the CRM, for example. So you might need to make some edits to them, but they can in fact be a pretty good place to start. For the purposes of this video, I'd like to just make one from scratch so that we can kind of walk through, each of the things you'll want to consider as you create a report. So under the little plus button here for create, we can go ahead and create a new report. In this one, I think we're first going to start with creating a pivot view. Now it's going to ask you what your base module should be or your base table. It's important to know that this isn't the only table that you'll have available for reporting. It's just going to call it the primary one where things are going to branch out from. So in this case, I'm going to make a table based on our deals. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And let's say we want to call this deals in pipeline by closing month. So here we're going to make a report that's really just going to look at, how many dollars do we have sitting in each of these various stages, and when are we expecting these deals to close? Kind of just giving a quick top-down view of, what we'd want to see about our deal pipeline. So looking at the pivot table, you have two different factors that you can use for grouping, and then you have your data. And so I'm going to start adding some columns here to these different sections so that we can get a look at exactly what they do. So the first thing I'm going to do is, let's say we want to have a grouping based on the month that we're expecting things to close. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our closing date here from the left. I'm going to drag it into rows. Now, when I do that, I can click on the little drop down here and pick what type of date I care about. Right? Do I want to look at this by day, by week, by month, and so on and so forth. So in this case, I'm going to look at it by month and year. It's important to know the difference that if you include year, February from 2021 will be different than 2020. If you just pick month, then it's going to roll up everything that's in a February. So in this case, I'll do the month and year of the closing date. And let's say I want to look at just the amounts. So just kind of our most basic look at how many dollars are in each month that we're expecting things to close. So from there, I'll go ahead and generate our pivot table. And we'll look at, we've got an old deal here sitting from back in February 2020. We have some deals that are supposed to close, last month in July of 2021. We have some that are scheduled to close this month in August, and some that are scheduled to close next month over in September. And we're seeing the sum of the amounts of all deals that are supposed to close within these dates. Now, for me, I always like to rename my columns. I don't like this little month and year, so I'm just going to remove that and call it closing date. And with the amount, well, I know it's a total, so I'm just going to call it amount rather than total amount. Now, this is good, but we might want to look at some more data. Right? Because if we have some things that are expected to close this month, well, it'd be kind of nice to know what stage they're in, right? If they're in a very early stage and we know that's not realistic, they're going to close this month, we might want to ask our team to bump some of those closing dates back. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab the stage here from on the left-hand side, and I'm going to pull it into rows. And so the way that the groupings are going to work is always going to be top to bottom. So the primary grouping here is closing date. And then we have a secondary grouping for the stage. And so here, we have a total here for deals that are in the identified decision makers that are supposed to close in August, There's $45,000 there. This could be one deal. This could be 5 deals, right? Right now, we're just looking at the sum of all deals. But we can still see within the total month of August, we have a separate total that's going to sum all of the deals that are supposed to close in that month. So you kind of get multiple levels of sums and groupings as you add more data to your rows. Now, if we wanted to see each individual deal, all we would need to do is drag the deal name to be the third value here that we're looking at in our rows. And so now we basically have, sums within each month, within each stage, and then values for each individual deal that's in each of those stages. And so it'll kind of just continue to add these additional totals as you go down and add more and more rows. Now, one other thing we might want to do is it might be useful for us to know, maybe we don't care about each individual deal name, but maybe we just want to know how many deals are making up each of these various amounts. So I'm going to go ahead and save this here. I'm going to put it into a new folder called custom reporting and make that my default and save that here so that I don't accidentally close this and regret it. So now that I'm looking at this and I want to know, what's the count of deals that are in each of these stages in each of these months, I can actually go ahead and grab something from the deal side that is unique. So it's important to make sure that you're grabbing a value that is unique. And I would advise, rather than using deal name, because you never know, someone might put a duplicate deal name in, that you grab the ID. We always know that the ID is going to be a unique value. Now, when I drag it in, the first thing it's going to do is try to give me a sum. So if I go ahead and generate that, it's going to look a little bit crazy because it's summing up these big old ID numbers, which is not really what we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand this sum into our dropdown of all of the various operations that we can have it do with a particular value. In this case, I want to run a nice little distinct count to give me just the count of unique IDs that are in each of these stages in each of these months. I'm going to rename that column to our count. And now we can take a look at our number of deals in each of our various amounts. Now, last but not least, you might want to do a little bit of math on the fly and do something like what's the average deal amount inside of each of these various groupings. And so what I can do there is over here in the bottom right of our data, I can add a formula field and I can tell it, give me an average amount. I'll do this as a currency value. And I can say we're going to use a formula of amount divided by the count of our deals. And I'll go ahead and save that. And so now for the month of August, under the identify decision makers, we have one deal for 45,000. So that's our average. Under the proposal and price quote, we have 3 deals for 86,000. So 28 and change is going to be our average, and so on and so forth that way. Now, we haven't touched this columns tab over here quite yet. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that would do if I started to tweak that. So let's say that we wanted to see this kind of broken out month over month a little bit differently. I could go ahead and drag the closing date to columns, and I'll go ahead and generate this. And so now our primary value here for the state, or for our grouping on the left, is our stage. And it's going to give us the count, the amount, and the average for each month as its own little section of columns, rather than grouping them, inside of a vertical table. Now, in this case, looking at this report, it really just gets into preference. For me personally, I like it a lot more when I have closing date over here in rows, but there are definitely times where you'd want to break things out, month over month, or by different sales reps and things like that with those column groupings. Now, the last little thing here that we might want to do is, if these are supposed to be deals in our pipeline, maybe we want to exclude things that are already closed won or closed lost because they're not really active anymore. We're not working those. We don't need to take action on those deals. And so under the filters tab, I can go ahead and drag in the stage. And I can choose closed lost and closed won, and then go ahead and exclude those items. So now when I regenerate this, those top two groupings that were all closed won and closed lost are gone, and we're left with just deals that have not been closed yet. You'll find a lot of different use cases for filters, filtering on industry, filtering on all these various values that you might want to take a look at. Now, the last little filter here that we can use is a user filter. So in this case, maybe we wanted to filter this based on the owner of the deal. So in this case, I can go ahead and grab our deal owner name, and I can drag that right on in as a user filter, and I'll save that. And user filters are really nice because when you're looking at the report, you can use them to instantly filter it to a particular view. Now, in this case, everything is just owned by our demo user. But if you had a variety of different sales reps, you could quickly filter this and just see one or multiple people's data represented in the report. Now, the last little thing I'm going to show here is kind of just a tip when you're looking at pulling reports from different data sources. So, let's say we wanted to look at our deals and we wanted to pull in something based on the account, right? So maybe we want to also have the different types that the accounts are as something that we're using in this report. So we'll see that over here on the left, we actually have the accounts table available. And we know this because if you had watched our previous video on data, the deals actually store a link to the accounts. So if I wanted to pull this in and look at the, maybe I want to pull it and look at the account type as one of our groupings, I can just drag in that account type, go ahead and click generate. And now I have our account types in here as an extra parameter that we can use when we're looking at these deals. Now, in this case, this makes it look a little bit funky. Maybe we look at this and we're like, well, we don't really need all of these extra totals. So you can right click on any of these and hide that total if you don't care about it. So now we basically just have an account type associated with deals in these various stages. So if you wanted to break things down by industry or grouping from a related table, you can do that without any issue. So now that we've created a pivot table, let's go ahead and take a look at creating a chart. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new report. I'm going to go down here to a chart view. I'm going to create that. Let's do another here based on our deals. And let's call this our active pipeline. So when we're working with a chart, it's a little bit different, but again, there's going to be a lot of things that are similar. So if we wanted to look at an active pipeline, we'd want to look by stage, right? That's kind of what defines our pipeline. So I could go ahead and grab this stage value from the deals on the left and drop it into the x-axis. And so here it's giving me the most raw version of this. It's basically created a pie chart for me based on the counts of deals in each of these stages. Now I look at this and I go, cool, this is nice, but I don't like pie charts. So over here up at the top, we can choose a huge variety of different reports and report types that we might want to look at. It's important to really dig into these and figure out what's going to be the right way to represent your data. In this case, if we're thinking about a funnel or a pipeline, I like to use these funnel charts. So it's kind of hidden over here on the left. There's some additional reports. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a funnel. And we'll see that now it's broken out our deals into all of our various stages from that pipeline. But in this case, I have currently it's an active pipeline. Maybe we want to look at this by amount rather than just by count. Because if you have a bunch of small deals, that might matter less than one big one. So what I can do to switch this over to be based on the revenue potential of these deals is grab the amount and drag it into the y-axis section. And so now rather than being sized based on the count of deals, it's sized based on the amount. So we're getting there. We're kind of moving in the right direction here. But let's say that, the amount is the primary thing we care about. but we also want to get a quick view of the count of deals that are in each of these stages. So to do that, I can use our handy ID here. I can drag it into text, which is basically a way to tell it what to represent with text on this report. And I can do a distinct count of our IDs. And now once I generate that, our sizes and our legend are still based on our y-axis, but we get little call outs here that say how many deals are in each of these stages to make up these amounts. And so this is looking pretty good now. It's definitely, close to what we want, but what you may notice is that it's not sorting in really the proper way here. Its default is going to sort based on the amount that's in each of these from top to bottom. But we don't really want closed one at the top of our pipeline. That should be somewhere down near the bottom. So we're going to go up here to the left and we're going to change our sorting settings. So, we'll see here right now, it's looking at our Y value descending. Maybe we want to change it to our stage descending or ascending. Now, in this case, when we look at our stages here, it's not quite right still, right? When we look at this, it's closer, but it's really just looking at an alphabetical order, which doesn't quite line up with our actual pipeline. If we were to go over to our CRM and actually look at our deals, we want to make sure that things are going to line up based on our actual stages. And so to do that, if things aren't lining up when you're doing ascending or descending, you can go under sort and under custom sort, and then go ahead and just hard code in the order that you want things to go in. And so in this case, it looks like now that I'm in the custom sort, we have qualification, needs analysis, value proposition. I can check my data or my CRM and it looks like we're lining up. And so here, I'll go ahead and make this global because this is going to be our default now for stages, and I'll apply that. So now we finally have our nice looking funnel here where it's actually going to give us the proper order. We're looking at it based on the amount, and then we still have access to how many deals are making up that amount. Last little thing we might want to do here is come into the filters, and maybe we don't care about things that are closed, kind of similar to our pivot table. So maybe we want to exclude these and just look at our active deals. Because as you'd imagine, over time, more and more deals are getting closed won and closed lost, and it would kind of blow out your funnel to look at it all, including those deal stages. And so now we've got a couple nice looking reports here. We've got a cool pivot that's giving us things broken out based on our dates. And then we've also got our active pipeline kind of looking at our amounts and where they're at in the stages. So we're going to wrap up the report creation video here. Again, our next video is going to be on creating some dashboards where we'll actually take these reports and get them into a digestible page that we can look at. I do hope that you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to subscribe down below so that you stay in the loop as we create additional content, whether it's webinars, trainings, or our weekly podcast. Again, thanks for your time, and I hope to see you next time.